be a little judgmental today. If you're planning a trip to Europe, you're likely to run into the same kind of experiences over and over. Food tours, canal cruises, cooking classes, hop on, hop off buses, climbing towers, dinner shows. And while some of these absolutely deserve a spot on your itinerary, others truly do not. So today I'm ranking European experiences from S tier to D tier. And if you're not chronically online and you have no idea what a tier list video is, this is simply where we rank things from S tier for superior or the absolute best, all the way down to D tier or not good, you can skip it. Hi, I'm Angela, and 7 years ago, I moved from the US to Europe. Ever since, I've been writing about my travels on my blog, Notes from Europe. If this is your first time joining me, be sure to subscribe for more Europe travel videos just like this. And if you stay until the end, I'll show you how you can download my Europe Experience Planner, the key to planning the best itinerary for your next trip. All right, let's get into it. The first type of experience on our list is the guided walking tour. Now, this is a simple type of experience. No matter what city you go to, there is likely to be some sort of guided walking tour on offer. So it can feel kind of run-of-the-mill or common, but this is an S tier experience. Personally, I find that a guided walking tour is the best first day in a destination experience. It gives you instant context about the destination, things like history, neighborhoods, architecture, unique points around town. But the number one reason why I love walking tours as an experience is they fix the expensive wandering problem. So I think a lot of people on their first few trips will try to soak in the vibe or just kind of meander. And while that can be a very charming way to discover interesting points of town or unique hidden gems, it can also lead you to very underwhelming memories if you're just kind of wandering and walking around. Walking tours give context, and I think that is a great way to anchor your trip in understanding and education. Next up on the list is a museum visit. Now, I love a museum visit, but for the average traveler or the overall population, I'm gonna put this one at B tier. Not because I don't love it, but because I think some people go to museums when it's maybe not their thing. So I would say that a museum visit is only worth it if you actually care about the topic, if you care about the type of art or history or whatever the subject of the museum is. The expensive wandering kind of conundrum can also happen in a museum as well. So if there's a way to upgrade the experience through an audio guide or even a small group tour of the museum, that is a quick way to very efficiently understand what the highlights are of the museum. Museums are a great rainy day activity as well if you kind of have bad weather and you need to be inside. So this is definitely on the higher end, but I'm only ranking it as a B because far too many people will go to a museum when they don't even care about the topic. So you need to be careful with this one, but generally museums are pretty clutch. All right, third experience that I want to rank here is outlook experiences. So what I mean here is climbing to the top of a church or a cathedral or a tower with the promise of seeing an amazing view of the city from above. I hate to say it, and I know some of you are going to be in the comments disagreeing with me, but this is D tier, okay? And I'm gonna explain why. First of all, I'm putting this as D tier because personally, I hate heights. It's not my thing, and yes, I'm being a little opinionated here, but I just don't see the appeal. You oftentimes have to queue for a very long time to get to whatever these outlook points are. Oftentimes, there's also a very narrow set of stairs to get up to the top of the cathedral, the tower, whatever it is that this outlook point is existing on. Sometimes the cost just to climb up the stairs to get to the viewing point can be a little ridiculous. And it's a highly weather dependent activity. So it's not something that you can reliably plan because a cloudy or rainy day could totally spoil it. For me, this feels very checking the box, oh, we went to the top of the Eiffel Tower, check. And it's just not for me. Like I said, I can already feel some of you preparing your comments to disagree with me. And I really do want to know, this is the entire point of this video, what European experiences would you rank as S tier? And as the list goes on, which one do you think I'm wrong about? Put your answer in the comments below. All right, next on the list of discovery experiences, I'm putting a boat tour. Now, There are very many different types of boat tours. You've got kind of the Amsterdam Canal tour, which is very iconic and very chill. You've also got Seine River dinner cruises, which is kind of their own thing. So to some degree, I realize that I am combining these things that maybe shouldn't be combined into one overall like boat tour category. But it's something that I have noticed across many different European cities that I've traveled to. Many of them have wonderful rivers or waterways, and so a boat tour is a pretty standard thing that you're going to see. For that reason, I'm going to put a boat tour as B tier. It really is city dependent. Amsterdam Canal cruise, kind of iconic. Random dinner cruise, really depends on the provider and the reviews if it's worth it. I will say that I used to really not think that dinner cruises or boat cruises of any kind were cool until I did one with my dad in Prague. And I have to say, it's really like a unique and interesting way to see the city from the water. You'll be able to see things that you absolutely would never get a view of on land. So I was kind of wrong about this. Now that I've done a couple more boat tours, I do think that it is a really interesting and fun way to see a different side of the city. So yeah, I think it's like a nice low energy, also weather dependent, but like still kind of a laid back, chill experience. Skip the line tickets to major landmarks. So I'm talking about the Colosseum in Rome or the Palace of Versailles outside Paris. Look, I hate to break it to you, but this is C tier, and I'm going to tell you why. I think some of these iconic attractions are more proof that I went than, oh, this is something I was truly interested in. We recently went to the Palace of Versailles, and I was shocked by the number of people that were there, and they seemed to have no interest in anything happening, anything at all. They were just kind of walking through, and they just didn't seem to be like excited by it at all. And I realized that it's just, it becomes this expectation, like we're going to Paris. Of course we're going to Versailles. The other thing about these skip the line tickets is like a lot of times the concept of the skip the line is a bit of a lie to just get you there. Yes, you have a timed entry ticket, but there's still about 100 people that are trying to get into that attraction in the same like half-hour window as you are. So inevitably, you're still waiting in line, and it just makes the entire experience feel a little bit cheap and cheesy, and in many cases, it's just not like a transformative experience. If you are spending like 10 days in a destination and you have plenty of time, go for it. But if you are doing a very tight itinerary and you don't have a ton of time, I would say be willing to let the kind of like major monument go if it doesn't just like light you up as the most important thing that you need to see. All right, the next category that I want to talk about are connection experiences. So these are experiences where you can connect with locals or other travelers. And spoiler alert, connection experiences are probably my favorite category. So we're going to start with cooking classes. Cooking classes are S tier. Fantastic experience. Now, if you've never done a cooking class, I think a lot of people get worried about like the cooking aspect of it, but it's not that serious, right? Nobody's expecting you to cook like an amazing 4-course meal, okay? The cooking aspect is an activity that just kind of makes it like less awkward to meet and mingle with other people. So the very first time I did this was in Rome. I did a cooking class in a Roman citizen, local Roman's home, and it was just very cool. One of my favorite experiences that I did that entire trip to Rome. There's a huge amount of like cultural learning over food with a cooking class. Usually there's this like built-in social interaction. There's something for you to talk about with people, which is the art of cooking, and that often leads to other great conversations. Plus, with cooking classes, they often feel like the most authentic thing that you have done when you go home and you're telling people about your vacation. I just find them to be a fantastic, top of the top experience. All right, same, but different food tours. Food tours, I'm gonna put as B tier, and there's a couple reasons. Food tours are cool in the same way that like cooking classes are cool. You're connecting with other people over food and food culture and food history of a destination. They are a fantastic like shortcut if you know nothing about a city's dining scene. So like I did a food tour in Bologna, Italy, and it was just a wonderful experience. It was like the quickest way to learn about that scene. I will say, however, that food tours are kind of getting pricey for what they are relative to what you're actually getting. They are oftentimes many multiples more expensive than a regular guided walking tour. And some will say that this is because you're eating a lot along the way, but that doesn't always shake out. Sometimes you're really paying somewhere between $80 to $100 and you're simply getting very, very small bites, small tastes. So this is why I put it as B tier, right? Depending on the provider and the actual tour, it could be really elite, but it's not consistently everywhere a fantastic thing. So you really need to be discerning with food tours. Okay, next up are group dinners or social dining. I've got to say, social dinners, A tier. It's the charm of a cooking class without the work. So if a cooking class feels like, yeah, you don't want to actually have to pretend to care about making pasta or something, a social dinner or a group dinner with a bunch of strangers is the next best thing. I especially love group dinners if I'm traveling solo and I've kind of been touring on my own for the day and I just want to have a little bit of socializing over my meal. Group dinners are great for solo travelers who are maybe just a little tired of having to always take their meals alone. And I think you kind of get a better emotional payoff with a group dinner than you would at like a food tour. The next experience type I want to talk about is a craft workshop. So there are multiple types of craft workshops out there, but it's easiest to just think of them as a cooking class where the thing that you're doing is not necessarily cooking. A lot of times the craft itself that is being done, whether that's through a tutorial or through like hands-on instruction, it's often something that is relevant to the destination or distinct to the destination. For example, in Portugal, there are some craft workshops around like painting ceramic tiles, which is very much of the place. They're different everywhere, so you really have to see what's out there. But I'm gonna put craft workshops at B tier. Sometimes they are so cool and they are so relevant to the place that it is just an amazing experience. But you have to be careful because some of them can be like a little kitsch and they have no connection to the place. So while I think a lot of people enjoy painting pottery or, making candles or something, if it has nothing to do with the place that you're hoping to discover or visit, and it's a little off kilter and it might not enrich your vacation, but if the craft itself is tied to the location, the destination, then it can be a really wonderful and unique way to kind of get closer to the culture of that place. The next category are performances, and there are kind of two distinct performances that I want to talk about here. The first is just overall a cultural performance. This could be flamenco, an opera, a ballet, the theater. It really could be anything. Cultural performances are like A tier. They're fantastic. They are a perfect low energy evening activity. They can make a trip feel really elevated and distinctly European, especially if the art is particular to the destination. And while I think anyone can really enjoy this type of performance, I think if you are in particular a lover of the arts, then this is just chef's kiss. It's like the perfect activity for you. Next up is the dinner and a show combination. Now, despite everything I just said about cultural performances, when it is packaged together with a dinner, I'm sorry, this is D tier, and I'll tell you why. Dinner and a show combines like two things that I, as a non-patient person, can't stand. One is that feeling that you're like waiting, like you're held captive and you're waiting for something to start. So we did this in Porto. We did a fado dinner and a show, and it was just way too much time in between like eating and then waiting for the show to come out and then your second course coming out. I don't know. I'm just the kind of person like I don't love spending a whole bunch of time at a restaurant. I like to eat and go, and the whole dinner and a show thing is just a little the worst of both experiences, like waiting for the show, waiting for dinner to be over. And I've just never really done it in a way where it feels elevated. I find it to be oftentimes overpriced. The food is never that great. The performance is never that stellar either. And I think that that's why this for me always feels like kind of a tourist trappy kind of like thing. So if you want to do like a performance, I think the absolute way to do it is go to a cultural performance, do dinner on your own. That's my take. All right, next category, small town day trips. So let's say that you are in Florence and you take a day trip outside of the city to go to Siena or other small towns in Tuscany, or maybe you are in Madrid and you're doing the same. You're going to some of these smaller towns outside of the city. I could go on and on and on with examples, but this to me, the small town day trip, this is S tier. I think it is one of Europe's secret weapons. You don't often need more than a day in some of these smaller destinations, and it's not even worth it for you to like travel on your own to that place, change hotels, just make it a day trip. Smaller towns often feel more charming and like memorable than a big city, and this is a great way to break up a very long stretch of days in a big city. Just escape out of the city for a day, see something charming and unique and outside of town. I think it adds contrast to your itinerary. And honestly, sometimes the best part of the city trip is leaving the city. Next up, boat excursions. And this is different from a boat tour. What we're talking about with boat excursions is when you're staying in a beach or coastal destination, and a boat excursion is like between 2 and 4 hours. You go out on a private boat. That's a boat excursion. I gotta say, this is like A tier for me. It's really a fantastic experience. It feels like a true outing or like miniature adventure. You get to see islands, coastlines. Many of the day boat excursions will even include like a little bit of swimming or snorkeling, or just dropping anchor and like hanging out on the boat for a couple of hours. It's definitely weather dependent, so that can sometimes be a little hit or miss, but I just love going out on a boat. Again, it lets you see like the natural landscapes that you wouldn't see if you were staying on land. Now for the active experiences. Bike tour, easy, A tier. I love a good bike tour. If the idea of a walking tour is kind of boring or passé to you, then the bike tour like takes it up a notch. It's a little more active, a great jet lag buster, and it gives you that same sort of early context, early understanding of the city. The other benefit of a bike tour versus a traditional walking tour is that you're able to cover more ground. That means that you can see more attractions or monuments or neighborhoods in the town than you would be able to see on foot. Next up is the segway tour. And this I'm gonna put as C tier. Now, maybe it's efficient. It's like really dorky. I'm sorry. I'm not putting this as D tier because I do expect someone in the comments is gonna say that they love a segway tour. And that's great. But I don't know. It's a no for me. And then of course there's the hop on, hop off bus. You know, this is those like double tier buses that are open on the top, and they just kind of drive around the city in a loop, and you can like hop on and then hop off. These are kind of like transportation disguised as an experience. It's super passive. You're just sitting there. You're not engaging with really anyone. The commentary is incredibly generic, and in a way it just kind of feels disconnected from the city. I mean, if you travel to enough European capitals, you're going to see the same bus everywhere. And so it doesn't ever really feel distinct to the place. It just feels like a franchise. I will say, if mobility is a concern and this is like the best way for you or someone you love to see the greatest amount of things without having to deal with figuring out the accessibility of many individual attractions, this is maybe the one exception where I think, okay, this could work really well. But other than that, I think you would do better like on a walking tour or something. And now for a few wild cards. This one is not going to cost you a dime, and it is S tier all the way. I am of course talking about the mid-afternoon nap. Now, if you're like most travelers and you get up in the morning and you have a full day plan of activities, it is very likely that by the time 3:30, 4, 5 o'clock rolls around, you're gonna be tired, you're gonna be thirsty, you're gonna just like need to take a load off. And there was a time when I used to like push through that and just ignore those feelings, and it's just not worth it. Like, you need to like listen to your body. Travel can be very stressful on the body and like many systems in the body. So I think that it is just an elite travel experience to say, look, we need a little nap. It is going to rest you a little bit for your evening plans. It will avoid like angry, tired tension with your traveling companions. You can rest or not rest. You can charge your phone. You can take a shower. Like, it is just taking an hour, hour and a half for yourself is so elite. And the other controversial part about it is like, you probably weren't going to be doing anything super special in those hours anyway, because you're probably too tired to really do anything super exerting anyway. So mid-afternoon nap is S tier, man. Okay, the next one is a spa treatment. And this may sound like indulgent or uppity or whatever, but like, again, travel is very difficult on the body. And rather than like pushing through it, sometimes it's just really great to say, you know what? I need to take a few hours for myself, go get a massage, get a facial. I mean, just allowing yourself to be pampered. It's an incredible mid-trip reset, especially after like those heavy walking days where you are seeing the sights, you're doing a ton of physical activity, it can be really nice to just take a load off a little bit. Also, I think this is really great if you don't want to spend a lot of money on a hotel, you're not trying to eat at Michelin-starred restaurants every night, but you still want just like a little something special. I have done spa treatments in many different cities. You can go to fancy hotel spas, even if you're not a guest of the property. There are also many just standalone spas in cities like Paris and London and Rome. So this is just one of my favorites. So yeah, spa treatment is an A-tier activity. It's really, really nice. And there it is, my full tier list of the best Europe travel experiences. Do you disagree with me? If so, I want to hear it in the comments. Come on, tell me what you think. Now, if this video got you thinking about your own itinerary, then you'll love my Europe Experience Planner. It helps you think through the best experiences for your trip based on your own interests and even when to plan them in your itinerary. It's completely free, and you can download it via the link in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe for more practical Europe travel planning tips. And if you'd like to hang out for a little longer, then I would recommend watching these videos next.